Dr. Stop It speaks on Gushungo's removal through tanks and guns, Auxillia and Son's trip to Belarus. My dear people. Not content with just being a page 2 girl in the state media, which include ridiculous reports of how she has been influential in the reduction of HIV transmission in some parts of the country through her roles of being the country's health ambassador, Auxillia has spread her crusade to far afield as Belarus stitching deals with her son. Despite the fact that she does not hold any government office, she also gets an allocation from the country's budget. I faced criticism that I was trying to replace Gushungo as the country's leader just because of my rallies countrywide, in which I strongly warned of just how Ngwina's attempts to take power would be a massive tragedy for the country. Munipanga. How could I even begin to replace the fountain of wisdom that had no equal in the country? Such reports of course were balderdash. To take a quote from the garrulous ZANU-PF loudspeaker, Chris Muvangwa. Although I am sure even I could have done a far better job than that of Ngwina, whose reign has been nothing short of disastrous, just as I warned you. Imagine the uproar if I had taken my sons to Belarus to negotiate with a head of state, or if I had an allocation from the treasury. There would have been bedlam kkkk. Yet here is Auxilia with no official government position engaging in talks with Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. This scandalous development confirms what I have always warned you about, which is that the callous removal of Gushungo through tanks and guns in 2017 was not meant for the betterment of Zimbabwean lives, but to fatten their already bulging pockets. The events of the past few weeks that got to a climax with the screening of Al Jazeera's final Gold Mafia series surely settled the debate about who was the most decent First Lady between me and Dr. Amai 11. The cat is finally out of the bag, and I shall not say more kiki kiki. Munipanga. If there was ever any doubt about there being no chance of a free and fair election, the sending of unsolicited and irritating messages purportedly from Ngwina to prospective voters in different constituencies soliciting for votes ought to end it. The denial by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission of leaking this information to ZANU-PF has few takers. How could those sending such messages know not only the name of the prospective voters, but also the constituency where one will cast their vote? The only custodians of such information are ZEC, which means that unless those that are sending messages are clairvoyants, it could only have come from its database. Where on earth is the Postal Telecommunications Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe, PATRAZ, when such hogwash is sent on phones? This brazen violation of subscribers' privacy illustrates the desperation for votes by Ngwina and his coup gangsters. The author of the hagiography on Ngwina, Eddie Cross, has been at pains to convince us that the octogenarian has bigger plans for the country should he win the elections this year. He told one daily paper that Ngwina has huge plans for the country in such areas as agriculture. I nearly threw up my Earl Grey tea when I read this drivel from Cross. Ngwina has had 5 years to put in place policies to improve the livelihood of the country's citizens. However, during that period he has introduced a local currency that continues to rapidly fall in value, which has severely eroded incomes, increasing poverty. Also under his watch inflation shot to 3 digits until his finance minister Mthuli came up with a plan to blend the inflation of the local unit with that of the greenback to cover up for the embarrassing levels of incompetence. Daily power cuts of up to 18 hours have plunged the country into darkness and misery. Scores of people have been arrested, abducted and killed just for exercising their right to protest. Thousands of Zimbabweans have left the country for menial jobs in other countries as poverty has increased and taken its toll, as well as the increase in the levels of corruption. Basically, Ngwina has brought about a dispensation of darkness, poverty and confusion. We probably should not be surprised by the preposterous remarks by Cross. He is the same fellow who told us that Ambassador-at-Large, Hubert Angel, had his diplomatic status stripped because of the Al Jazeera exposé, which showed him boasting about how he could assist money laundering and soliciting for payment to arrange a meeting between Ngwina and the Al Jazeera journalists who were disguised as investors. As many of Cross's claims, this proved to be false. It is hard not to get the feeling that Cross is fast becoming senile KKKKK. After all the brouhaha of the synchronization of Unit 7 by government and the state media, it has all proved to be much ado about nothing, as there has been no let-up in the power outages. In fact, it seems that the power outages have even worsened since excited hacks informed the nation about the developments in Hawaii. After all the noise of imminent improved power supply, Energy Minister Soda recently told the nation that these outages will persist for some time to come. Indeed, Ngwina's regime is once again living up to the tag, the new dispensation of darkness, confusion and poverty. Munopanga. Gushungo shite. Dr. Amai, stop it. PhD, fake.